It's that time of the week where we go game by game, matchup by matchup, and identify the must start players from each game, and also talk about a bunch of other players in each matchup as we try to predict the game scripts. This is going to help you set your lineups. This is going to help you make them lineups for daily fantasy, DraftKings, FanDuel. This is also going to give you a better understanding of the flow in these matchups, as Vegas is going to give us those implied point totals, and as we try to predict how these teams are going to score fantasy points. But before we dig in here, you must click that subscribe button right now. We're helping you set your lineups every week. We're helping you win the waiver wire, and before the trade deadline, we're helping you win those trades. We're here in the off season for your research. We're here for you for Dynasty Fantasy Football and Devy as well. Click that button, stop missing out. But let's dig into this week's matchups here. And the first game we're looking at is the Arizona Cardinals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got 41.5 over under, a lower implied point total, but not super low though. But when I think about this matchup, I could see it breaking a little bit. Maybe not on the scoring side, but on the fantasy scoring side, where we can get some fantasy output. Kyler Murray can really propel the offense here. The Steelers have some weapons. That being said, we're watching Marquise Brown, mainly due to the heel, but also 189 air yards last week. He was playing through that heel injury. He's been out of practice, but they're getting him ready. We'll see if he's in or not this week. If he's on the field, he's a must start in this matchup, as teams can throw it a little bit on the Steelers. James Conner's getting touches. Not reliable, but a guy you're looking at. Trey McBride, one of the top tight ends to start on any given Sunday. The run backs for the Steelers, Deontay Johnson, seeing about a 30% target share per week. George Pickens can always get you that splash play on any given Sunday. And then you can hammer it home on the run game on the Cardinals. They allow the second most fantasy points per game to running backs. So either Najee Harris or Jalen Warren's going to hit. Maybe both of them. You may want to look at both these guys as potential starters for this week. But again, you can run on the Cardinals. We see this about every week. Look at Kyron Williams twice this year. Before that, we had Devin Singletary. Teams are running on the Cardinals. Gus Edwards had a huge game, and I'm just throwing up games in the back of my head. There's many more. We're probably going to see one of these running backs hit this week. Now we're looking at the Falcons at the New York Jets, 34 over under. Vegas is saying, stay away. But you can't, because you got some guys rostered. That being said, Garrett Wilson is dependable to an extent. He can go off, and he can get you by. He has a 30.2 target share in his last 4 games, running 45.3 routes per game, getting a lot of volume. So anything, he's going to get you those opportunities. Breece Hall is a dog. You're starting him. There's no questions about that. With the run backs with the Falcons, Bijan Robinson is a lock every week. Does not matter on the matchup. As long as he doesn't have a headache, you're good to go. Drake London, we got some questions with. Is he going to be there for you or not? Tough matchup. But again, Bijan, you're good. Breece Hall, you're good. You're starting your studs. Of course, Garrett Wilson. That being said, Dolphins at the Commanders, 49.5 over under. Vegas is saying this game's going to be buzzing because we got an implied point total towards 50. We got a wide spread here in favor of the Dolphins. You're starting all your Dolphins. The Commanders are going to get some good run backs with them. That being said, could be a get-right game here for Terry McLaurin. He's pretty steady when it comes to workload. You can really say that he's the only steady wide receiver on this team when it comes to workload. 20% target share in his last 4, 8.3 targets per game, almost 90 air yards per game. You're taking shots with the other Commanders, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Brian Robinson. You're just taking shots due to the matchup. Run backs, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert. You're just bringing the game back in your lineup. Devin Achane, you're watching him. If he's in, you're starting, but you're not really trusting him due to the injury, but you're probably starting him just in case. Chargers at the Patriots. We got a 40.5 over under. So a lower implied point total, but not super low like it's in the 30s. But that being said, you're not really trusting this matchup either. You got the Chargers on the road against the Patriots. This game could be slower. It could break open. We're also watching Keenan Allen because he's been on the injury report, But Ramondre Stevenson, you can fire him up this week. He's seeing 20 touches per game in his last 3 games. And he's playing against a defense you can run on a little bit here. Austin Eckler's getting touches, not looking great. But there's not many guys in this matchup you really want to start. Broncos at the Texans. We got a 47.5 over under. If CJ Stroud hits, the Broncos are probably going to hit because they're going to have to keep up with the pace. So we're all keeping our eyes on CJ Stroud. And if he can sling the rock, if he's pushing the pace, then we're going to have a fun matchup here. That being said, Nico Collins, because we're paying attention to Tank Dell in the practice reports. If he's out, targets are going to be concentrated to Nico Collins. Could be getting those deep targets. Could be getting a lot of work there in the passing game. You can also run on the Broncos as well. The run backs, Cortland Sutton's. He's an air yards guy. He gets a good target share. If CJ Stroud is humming, Cortland Sutton's probably going to be humming as well as a run back piece. Javonte Williams, you don't feel good about it, but he is getting workload. Same thing about Jerry Jeudy. This is a good matchup for him to get right. If CJ Stroud is pushing the pace and we got a high-paced game, which we're seeing a lot with the Texans here, which could help us with the Broncos. Now we're looking at the Lions at the New Orleans Saints, 47 over under. Vegas is saying, hey, we're starting players in this game. We're expecting some scoring. This is going to be a very interesting matchup here. Of course, you're starting Amon-Ra St. Brown, seeing about 10 targets per game. You're starting Gibbs. You're starting Monty. You're starting Alvin Kamara. You're paying attention to Chris Olave on the injury report. If he's out, maybe look at A.T. Perry or something. More work is going to be concentrated to Kamara. That's for damn sure. But we know who are playing from these two teams. That's the thing about it. Now we're looking at the Colts at the Titans here. You can run a little bit on the Colts. You can pass a little bit on the Titans. 42.5 over under. Divisional matchup here. Colts on the road. Could be a fun one here. You're going to want to watch this one. Derrick Henry, you can run on the Colts a little bit, and he's getting about 16 touches per game. Don't forget about DeAndre Hopkins, though. He is a candidate to go off on any given week. Run backs, Michael Pittman, because the Titans are a pass funnel. Michael Pittman is a must start because he gets all the targets. He's a must start every week. That's why I had him in the run backs, because he's too easy. Josh Downs, another big game from him, could be happening this week. Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 37 over under. Can the Panthers get it done through the air? Because you do not run it on the Bucs. No teams run it on the Bucs. They throw it on them, and they try to push the Buccaneers to throw the ball. That being said, when we think about this, Rachaad White, running backs have big games against the Panthers. We've seen it as of late. 76.9% opportunity share is used a lot in the passing game. Of course, you're starting Mike Evans. He gets air yards every week. Chris Godwin gets volume. Run backs, Adam Thielen, because they're going to try and throw it on the Buccaneers. Whether they can or not, that's a different story. But Adam Thielen's at least safe to get you by because he gets a lot of targets and it's consistent every week. Now we're looking at the 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Everybody's going to be watching this game. Everybody's going to be talking about this game on Monday morning. We got a 47 over under. You're starting everybody. You're starting everybody. This is a start party for fantasy football, and you're just watching all the players. We got a tight spread. This is going to be a fun one to watch. You're starting Brandon Ayuk because you can pass on the Eagles. You're starting Deebo Samuel because you can pass on the Eagles. You're starting Christian McCaffrey because he's Christian McCaffrey. Run backs, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, DeAndre Swift. You're starting the gang here. Both teams, you're starting them. Now we're looking at the Browns at the Rams, 40 over under. The Browns got some quarterback issues. They got a stout defense. The Rams are getting back together here. They're coming back from injury. Fun to watch. That being said, Kyren Williams is back. What we're looking at here is when the Rams are playing a tough defense, they like to use Kyren Williams more in the passing game. This could equate to more PPR points, allowing him to hit a little bit of that upside. We saw that against the 49ers earlier in the season. That could happen. They could be up in this game as well, considering the Browns have some quarterback issues. Puka and Kupp, you're probably starting them, but you don't feel good. Kupp's a big decision here because he has been off on a lot of weeks. Run backs, Jerome Ford, because he's got that burst. He gets touches. Amari Cooper, because you're starting your studs, and you're not really taking chances with anybody else, but you might be diversifying from him due to the quarterback play. That being said, Chiefs at the Packers, 42.5 over under. We got a little bit of a wide spread here. Vegas is saying this scoring could be a little bit moderate to low here, but we could see some fantasy production because we got Isaiah Pacheco seeing an 80% opportunity share. Should be getting some work in this matchup. Is Rashee Rice going off for the back half of the season? He went off last week. Is he going to do it again? The run backs for the Packers are pretty simple here. You got the three amigos at wide receivers. One's going to hit, one's going to be mid, one's going to be mid to bust, and it's like that every week, and those are the players you're going to be looking at for the Packers. Monday night, Bengals at the Jaguars, 38.5 over under. So they're saying that it's going to be a lower scoring game, and the Jaguars got a thick spread, and they're probably going to be up in this matchup. So we're going to be looking at Jamar Chase because the Bengals might be playing from behind, might be getting some volume. He's kind of safe, but he's getting about a 20% target share, and you're going to start him. T. Higgins has been practicing. You're going to have to pay attention to the practice reports on Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. Run backs, same thing with Travis Etienne. He's got that rib issue. You're paying attention to the news on that. Calvin Ridley's having a surge right now, and Christian Kirk is steady. And that's what he is. He's steady Eddie, and you're starting him if you have him, unless you're stacked at wide receiver, which is a good thing. And those are the must-start players on top of the other players that we're talking about going into Week 13. Drop your lineup questions in the comment section below. I'll get to them. I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out, and I'll catch you on the next video.